No matter who you are, there's one thing that every single one of your ancestors did, tracing back 1 million years. Whether they were living through the Ice Age or their house was just destroyed by a tornado, they all had kids. So what could possibly have gone so catastrophically wrong to make Gen Z the first generation where well nigh a majority don't want to have kids? Do you understand how abnormal that is? Literally half of our generation doesn't want their corner of the species to continue. And everyone acts like this is some mystery. You have the boomers weighing in.
You're gonna be sorry someday.
Do you have kids?
Oh, no.
Why not?
It's just not my cup of tea.
You have the doomers weighing in.
The best and only way to 100% guarantee you do not continue the cycle of abuse is to not have kids in the first place.
But this is not a mystery. The Gen Z birth dearth comes down to 3 things. First, most obviously, money. In the 1950s, you could essentially have 5 kids on one income. Back then, people spent 1/5 of their income on housing. Today, it reaches 50%. More people are renting than ever before. If Gen Z can't get a job and can't afford their own apartment, how could they ever afford another person?
Why aren't people having kids anymore? Because no one has a spare $300,000. It's the same reason I haven't bought a sapphire mine recently. It's just a tad too expensive. I don't want to spend money on a kid. I freeze my bread to make it last longer. I'm cheap. Look, it's not even a joke. It's just a good tip. I don't even spend the fake money I earn in video games. Here's a better question. Why did the people who had kids before choose to make it feel impossible to have kids now? And how can they help fix that? The closest I'm gonna get to having kids is rewatching the first season of Stranger Things. But who's gonna take care of you when you're old? I don't know. Probably an AI android with a voice just different enough from Scarlett Johansson's for it to be legal.
Someone said not spending money in video games is too real. This couple came up with a creative way to deal with people asking them when are they gonna have a kid.
So my wife and I, we have a baby jar. Every time someone asks us if we're gonna have kids, we put $1 in it, and then we use that money to buy vacations because we don't have kids. This is why my mom can't follow me on social media.
Someone else said, asking who's gonna take care of you when you're old is boldly assuming that the world will last until I get old. Which leads us to the second reason. A lot of people feel the world is in a terrible state that they don't want to bring their kids into. And the third reason, and I think the most important, is shifting priorities. People are less religious now, which has historically been a big motivator to have children. Far more people go to college now than ever before, so education and job security are huge priorities. And finally, people are more comfortable openly prioritizing themselves.
Whenever I tell someone I don't want to have kids, their first question is always, why would you not want them? Let's do top 10 reasons why. Number 1, I never want to be pregnant ever. Are you telling me that I'm going to completely ruin my body image for at least a year after having kids and then have to work to get back to how I looked? And this is completely personal. Everyone else, you look great. I hope that you're happy in your body. I know that I would have problems. Number 2, I don't think that I can give up my time like that. For the first 10 years, they need you 24/7. You have to bring them everywhere. You have to pay for everything. You have to take care of them. Dinners, lunch, breakfast, every single day, school, everything. I can't give up my time like that. Number 3, they bother me. Unless they're cute and perfect, which obviously no kid is perfect and cute all the time, I don't want to spend time with them. They bother me. I hate that they don't know things. I hate unintelligent people. Number 4, if they had my brain, I would feel so guilty. Number 5, why would I bring a kid into this world? It's tragic. I know it's up to us to better it for them. No, I wouldn't want to be born in this world right now. Next is that kids are just so expensive. I'm so expensive. I would hate to be my mom. Number 7, I want to travel. And I get it, you can travel with kids. Nope, it would ruin it for me. Number 8, kids ruin marriages. It definitely ruined my parents. Number 9, I would just be so stressed all of parenthood, worrying that I'm doing something wrong because it's impossible to be perfect. Number 10, I would never want a boy ever. I only want a girl if I ever had a kid.
I've watched a lot of these TikToks, particularly in preparation for this video, but still, reason 4 is really scary to me. This girl says, I wouldn't want to have kids because I wouldn't want kids to have my mind. And I know a lot of people feel like that. Some of you have commented that you feel like that. But I don't think it's as hopeless as you might think. The vast majority of people who are diagnosed with major depressive disorder, for example, don't have it 10 years later. But now, I want to say something that you're not going to hear on any other video essay. I'm going to tell you the real reason that so many people are choosing not to have kids. And even though it's clearly the biggest reason driving the birth dearth, I never hear anybody talk about it. I don't know if it's taboo to say, I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble, but I'm going to tell you what I really think. People always mention how expensive having kids are, and that's true, but things have been expensive before. People talk about how bad the state of the world is, and sure, but there was also a Spanish Civil War and an Irish potato famine. The big reason that everyone overlooks is that we have changed childhood. We've made childhood into a Frankenstein's monster that hurts kids, but more immediately makes it so expensive and exhausting to have them. And in the next 3 minutes, I'm going to convince you that that's the real reason, too. In pre-industrial society, children were wealth assets for 2 reasons. First, they were very cheap to have, you basically just had to feed them. And second, they were an additional source of farm labor. And this was still true in early industrial society, when Secretary of the Treasury Alexander Hamilton praised the joys of child labor, saying it would make children even more productive for society. And he might have been a bit of a feminist, because he said, if we put women in factories, women will finally be useful to society too. I hope there's a cut song from Hamilton about the joys of child labor. It must be nice, it must be nice to put children to work in the mines. Come on, Jefferson, it must be nice. Why is no one singing? To use their dead bodies to build wind chimes. Come on. I can see why Lynn cut that song. But this all ended, as all good things ended, with the advent of the baby boomers. Why did I say it like that? The baby boomers. It sounds like they're the people who, like, boom their babies. Boom, baby! Baby boomers were raised as the first generation where children weren't seen as household contributors, but individual special snowflakes who needed
love and kindness.
All these weird new fads.
In the average American family today, children are the object of more concentrated thought and concern than the young of any previous generation. For out of an increasing understanding of child psychology has come an awareness that children are real people with individual personalities which must be respected and encouraged.
This was a distinctly new way to be raised in the world. And it allowed for a whole generation that I suppose we would now call spoiled. From another point of view, simply meant kids who had very high expectations in life.
But here's the thing. Children's transition from economic asset to economic liability was shielded. It was masked by the simultaneous explosion in religiosity. Preachers and churches encouraged men and women to marry young and start Christian families, and they all did.
The answer to the breaking of the home today. Not Christ was born.
For basically the only time in American history, birth rates actually shot significantly up. But then, as American religiosity fell away, the truth that children had become economic liabilities was finally exposed. As they say, when the tide goes out, you can see who is swimming naked the whole time. Without a religious basis to have them, it didn't make economic sense to have kids anymore, which is why we haven't had a replacement birth rate since the 1970s. Whoa, 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 I can hear you saying. If that's true, Casey, riddle me this. Why are birth rates so much lower now than they were in the 70s? Good question. It's because children transformed from being a net economic asset to a net economic liability in the 40s and 50s. But they still weren't that expensive, relatively speaking. Today, children are still economic liabilities, but they are much, much more so in nearly every regard. In the 50s, it literally cost $100, adjusted for inflation, to go to some colleges. Today, it costs you $100 to like even think about going to a college. Vassar will email you and be like, all right, we're charging you your $200 thought fee. Come on, pay up. Adjusted for inflation, it cost $400 to give birth in the 1960s. Today, it often costs $75,000. But it's not just economic costs, because everybody's talking about that. Here's what no one will tell you. Having a kid today costs way more, not in just terms of money, but in terms of effort, energy, and investment than it did 50 years ago. And in my opinion, than it should. And before I tell you why this is happening, here's 2 quick points of reference. Moms today with full-time jobs spend more hours on childcare than full-time homemakers did in the 1960s. That is insane. And not only that, dads with full-time jobs today spend more hours on childcare now than full-time homemaking mothers did in the 1960s. Oh my god! Like, that should be the craziest statistic you've ever heard in your life. Also, in the 1960s, they usually had around 4 kids, whereas the full-time working mom today only has 2 kids. And almost a majority of full-time working dads today spend more time on childcare than a full-time stay-at-home mom did in the 60s. It's just so crazy. The first reason this is happening is because now parents think it is just so important to invest in their little Timmy with Little League classes to teach them resilience and get them math tutoring when they're 6 so they'll get into Stanford 12 years later. It's becoming common for kids to face entrance exams to get into the most competitive kindergarten. Kindergarten? What do they even ask the kids to do? Who can sing the little Einstein's theme the fastest? We're going on a trip in our favorite rocket ship. So parents are spending like every waking minute taking their kid to volleyball class or kindergarten tutoring.
Having a kid today don't make no sense because you can't put them outside and tell them don't come back in until streetlights come on like they did us when we was kids. When we was kids, we would be outside dusk until dawn, day in, day out. We would get on them bikes and be clear across on the other side of town and nobody knew where we were and nobody even asked. As long as I was in that house, when my mama said be in that house, I was asked no questions. You can't do that today. You put them kids outside and tell them don't come in till streetlights come on, you going to jail. Kid gonna come up missing, you on the news, you a headline on social media. It's a completely different world. When I was growing up, the worst punishment on earth was being told you can't go outside. If it came down between a whooping or having to stay in the house, I will take the whooping for 500 Alex because I am not sitting in this house cooped up with y'all. Kids now are in the house all day long on electronic devices in your hair and in your face. And then they get 1,000 breaks from school. They got winter break, Easter break, spring break. We don't want to look at your kids today break. They got all these breaks and they come home to y'all because they don't even have adequate after school programs like they did when I was a kid. I would be in school after school until 5, 6 o'clock in the evening, come home, eat something, do homework, and get up and do the same thing again next day. I was not in my mama's face all day long. And I'll be honest with y'all, until we get back to that, till we get back to y'all go outside and don't come in till streetlights come on, don't run in and out and drink some water out of a water hose because it makes you stronger. I don't know why, but water out of a water hose, it just builds something different in you. Till we get back to that, I don't see it, y'all. I don't see no kids in the future.
And the second reason kids are so much more expensive in terms of effort today is that we've gotten rid of the village. You know, they say it takes a village to raise a kid. Well, now we largely raise our kids as this isolated nuclear family without relatives around or without even family and friends. It was common in the 50s and 60s that parents could just let their kids roam far around their neighborhoods because they knew that other families, other parents, other moms would watch out for their kids. So it's no surprise that it's so much more rare for parents to let their kids play unsupervised Tom Sawyer style and just tell them to be home by dinner time. But think about that for a second. If you really could just let your kids play outside and see them at night, if you only spend 10 hours on childcare a week, like the majority of full-time mothers did in the 1960s, parenting would become a lot easier. And lest you think it's selfish to let kids play outside without supervision, it's actually much better for the kid. The National Library of Medicine reported that less structured time in kids' daily lives gives them better discipline, self-regulation, and agency, even after controlling for age, intelligence, and household income. So the parents today who inflict so much misery on themselves to make their kid the best he can be are actually making their children worse. I want you to try something. The next time you're at a dojo, which now that I say out loud, realize might not be a regular occurrence for all of us. But nonetheless, the next time you're at a dojo and you see a mom taking her 6-year-old son to karate class, pay attention to their moods. Are they both stoked to be there? I don't think so. And inevitably, if you go up to the mom and ask, hey, why are you taking your kid to karate? Does he love karate? She'll look at you and be like, what? No, he hates karate. So then I'll respond, oh, so you must love taking him to karate. And she'll look at me like I'm a chicken who just asked her for a job at KFC. Of course I hate taking him to karate.
Of course! Of course! Of course! Of course! Of course!
So the next logical question, ma'am, is why are you both doing this thing that makes you miserable at a 3 p.m. on a Thursday. And this is where I inevitably get the sermon, Casey, you're so naive. He hates karate, and I hate karate, and every time I take him to karate, I wish I aborted him. But it builds character in some way that no one quite understands. 20 years from now, when he's CFO of the Nestle Corporation, he'll thank me for all those times I made him discipline himself and go to karate class. But of course, as the National Library of Medicine revealed, the opposite is true. Little Timmy is gonna become less and less self-disciplined every time you discipline his day for him. Just use common sense. Where can you ever practice self-discipline if your entire day is disciplined out for you? And here's even more evidence my thesis stands. When asked about their life as a whole, parents are more likely to report their lives as meaningful and happy than non-parents. However, when it comes to moment-to-moment happiness while parenting, parents report being 1% less happy than non-parents for every child they have. So if they have 4 children, while they're parenting, they report being 4% less happy than non-parents. So what does that tell you? It says overall, parents are happy to be parents, but it's the stress of parenting, the modern stress of parenting that we've largely invented, that causes so much of the parenting headache. It's self-imposed. Like, I personally hate what kids' sports leagues have become. The idea that if a kid just wants to play sports with his friends, he has to be prepared to train really hard and give coach his all for 6 months for some sport he's never gonna play again for the rest of his life. What happened to just like getting together with your friends once a week to play a structured soccer game? What happened to like playing baseball without the intention of getting better at baseball or getting into college on a baseball scholarship? But actually, to just play baseball. Isn't that a crazy idea? But if I still haven't sold you, I've saved my most decisive proof for last. My proof that so much of parenting suffering is self-imposed, and why this is the reason almost a majority of Gen Z don't want kids. And my proof is 2 words. Daddy, chill. Oh shit.
Daddy, chill.
What the hell is even that?
My bad. South Korea. South Korea has the lowest birth rate in the world. But why? Things are expensive there, sure, but things are more expensive in other countries. People are irreligious there, sure, but people are irreligious in China and Japan and Mongolia. The reason South Korea has the #1 lowest birth rate is because they're also #1 for making children an unbearable, never-ending nightmare to have. The average South Korean parent makes an American Tiger mom look like Maria Von Trapp. In South Korea, there's one test that's basically the SAT if it was 8 hours long, and the penalty for getting a question wrong was sudden death, that determines your entire life, exactly where you'll rank in the South Korean societal hierarchy. So South Korean parents don't give their kids any childhood or any adolescence, and they don't give themselves any break from parenting, so they can make sure to train their one kid for this test. Tutors for this test are multi-millionaire celebrities in South Korea. One guy named Hyun Woo Jin makes $14 million a year. South Korean parents have their 20-month-old children take entrance exams in order to get into an elite private school to train for the next 7 years to get them into another elite private school where they'll train for another 10 years to prepare for the one test that will determine their life's fate. This test was so consequential that by some estimates, the bloodiest war in human history was fought over it just 150 years ago. When a man named Hong Joo-kwon studied for years to pass this test, failed 3 times at the Chinese version of it, he was so distraught, he fell into a psychosis, realizing that he would have to live the rest of his life as a poor peasant. Soon, he announced that the real reason he failed the test 3 times was because God had higher plans for him, and that he was actually, this is true, the brother of Jesus Christ. So he started a civil war in China called the Taiping Rebellion to overthrow China's Qing dynasty. And that civil war cost, by some estimates, 100 million lives, which could make it exceed World War II as the bloodiest human conflict ever. So what I'm trying to say is this test is a big deal, and failing it is an even bigger one. So basically, having a kid in South Korea is you signing up to devote the next 20 years of your life to tutoring a poor child from the moment he turns 20 months old. In fact, a growing lucrative career in South Korea is literally getting hired by South Korean parents not to tutor their kid, but to just stand in a corner and watch their children study to make sure they never stop. You can literally make a good living doing this in South Korea, and thousands of people do. Like, if this YouTube thing doesn't work out, I'm moving to South Korea to stare at little children taking Korean entrance exams. Now, I understand that's an unusual career backup plan, but hey, you would do it too for a check!
And you would do it too for a check.
I'm just imagining there's a South Korean child studying right now, and they just have Asian Lin-Manuel in the corner, staring at him, singing quietly about Alexander Hamilton's love for child labor. Must be nice. Must be nice. So the reason we have a low birth rate, like Korea, is because we have begun down the South Korean path. We have started enrolling our kids in so many extracurriculars and tutoring sessions from such a young age that parenting has become like a triple-time job. But the reason our birth rate is still double South Korea's is because we haven't gone nearly as far as they have. But we're going farther every day. So if you're someone who might want to have kids, that should be a huge relief for you. Parenting does not need to be nearly as hard as we make it. And boy, do we make it hard. Something I haven't even touched on is how many people try to save their failing relationship by having a kid, which is always a disaster.
Man, everyone always keeps asking me, why you don't have kids? You're 30 years old, you should have kids. You think I'm in a rush to have kids with someone I'm not gonna be with? A lot of you people have kids just to, like a prop, like it's a little prop. I definitely don't wanna have a kid that I'm not gonna be with the person forever. And a lot of people love to talk about breaking cycles, breaking generational curses, right? My parents weren't together, they didn't raise me. So in return to that, it made me. So why would I do that to a kid? So when I get this question, it kind of bothers me because I'm like, damn, you got 3 baby fathers. Damn, you was with your nigga for 10 plus years, then it didn't work out. You wasted 11 years of your life. And now that baby got a question. Ask a kid. I still remember when my dad broke up with my sister's mom. That shit affected me for years on end. And it wasn't even my mom. So when y'all ask people this question, be careful. Because the answer that I give, I'm very nice. But then I'm not judging people, but at the same time, it's like you're judging me. So I'm looking at you like, how's your situation better than mine?
Someone said, I'm 31 and don't have kids. I want a family, not a broken home. And I'll add, a lot of people don't want kids because of how much a headache it'll be or how expensive it is. And if that's you, then all my previous reasons should make you feel better. But it's a different story if you're just someone who doesn't want to have kids in any circumstance.
How do you know you don't want kids if you don't have them? I don't want chlamydia, bitch. I don't have that either.
I like how this woman put it. She said a lot of parents who claim to love their kids so much don't mean it.
Parents like to come onto my page and be like, you have no idea what it's like to have a child. I love them unconditionally. It's visceral. I would die for my child. Like, okay, but would you live for them? Would you go to therapy? Would you get healthy? Would you change your eating habits? Would you go to rehab? Would you stop drinking? Would you exercise? Would you better yourself as a human? Would you apologize for things that you did? Because dying for someone is easy. You die, and that's it. You have no obligation to change who you are. You don't have to do anything else. You just die. But living for your child, changing yourself, being introspective, that's love.
And since we're doing a Lin-Manuel Miranda themed video today,
dying is easy, young man living is hard.
A year ago, I officially declared myself a failure at womanhood and got myself sterilized. I always knew I didn't want to have kids. And when mothers try to convince me I'm missing out, I don't really think you can miss out on anything you don't want. You don't want cats? Do you feel you're missing out on them? And the part of that mother's love is the only true love you can feel. You don't need to try to convince me of your own choices. I respect them. I've never once looked at the mother and thought she should have chosen my life. And I have a mom. Her favorite thing in the world is to be a mom. So believe me, I have experienced mother's love. Funny enough, most of my friends are mothers. And one of the most awesome people I know. Luckily at this point their kids are older. I mostly tolerate kids. I don't like kids. I don't think babies are cute. And I think in general we all hate everybody else's kids except our own. I don't like small kids in restaurants. And I always choose adults only holiday spots. I don't want to sound a total asshole. I want your kids to have the Disney slide. They deserve it. I just don't want to have anything to do with it. I like kind, respectful, funny, unique human beings. So eventually when they grow up to be an actual person, I might actually love your kid. If they're anything like you, my schedule of doing absolutely nothing was fully booked.
Someone said, I'm 25 and everyone's always telling me I'm gonna change my mind about not having kids. This video makes me feel seen. Yeah, it was a very aesthetic video that we almost overlooked the fact that she said kids aren't people. This guy said, not gonna lie, coming home after 9:05 to crying children would piss me off. And then imagine they forget they have a school project due the next morning. Guess who's getting a 0 tomorrow, kid? But if you do want to have kids, you can raise them like it's the 90s or the 70s, or just go full Captain Fantastic.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't I'll never slow up, no I don't take shit, I got no love for the...
Alright, some of those things are a little sus, but it gives me an excuse to talk about one of my favorite movies, Captain Fantastic. It's about this guy who raises his 7 kids in the woods, completely independent. They travel across the country in a school bus, and instead of celebrating Christmas, they celebrate Noam Chomsky Day.
Happy Noam Chomsky Day.
What struck me most about that movie is that even though Captain Fantastic is a great father and his siblings all get along so well, they could even sing Sweet Child of Mine. At the end of the movie, the dad gives up their whole life and enrolls them in public school. And if you've seen the movie, that doesn't make sense. It really feels like the producers only did that because they were uncomfortable with living too outside the norm. They thought audiences would reject a movie where this hippie family continues to live the hippie way and doesn't become normal by the end. And that movie is such a lesson in that we care so much about what the people around us are doing. We don't want to deviate too far, which is why so many parents give their kids cell phones today and feel like they can't let them play unsupervised because it's become so rare. Remember that comment from a couple TikToks ago? That girl who said she became secure in her decision to not have kids when she saw another woman not having kids? That's how all people are. Don't be fooled by the people in your immediate vicinity. You don't have to raise your kids as laboriously as we've collectively decided to. You don't have to give up all your freedom if you just let your kids play outside by themselves. Listen to this woman's reasons for not having kids.
I'd have to wake up for school for the next 14 years, and I'm not even the one that's going. If I go out to eat, I have to feed someone else every single time. No, more for me, actually. I get irrationally angry at weather. Can you imagine if I had a kid to blame everything on? Genetic mental illness. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I'll probably be a serial killer. Like, I don't know. Everyone in my family gets crazier every generation. I don't do throw up. If they throw up, I'm kicking them outside with my foot. I've heard that giving birth really hurts and it sucks to be pregnant, so that's just a big factor. What a waste of money just to put someone in a suffering world. You're welcome, society.
Yeah, great list. Let me add to it. My house stays clean. I don't have toys on the floor, no crayon on the walls, no sticky fingerprints on everything I own, no random peanut butter smeared all over the floor. I can eat my whole meal uninterrupted, hot food without cutting anyone else's into tiny pieces. My coffee stays warm. It doesn't get cold by the time I start drinking it. My car is mine. No Cheerios in the seat cracks, no juice stains, no car seat taking up half my back seat. I can watch what I want. No Coco Melon, no Paw Patrol, no Disney movies on repeat for the 47th time. I can leave the house in about 5 minutes. No diaper bag, no snacks, no meltdowns in the parking lot. Just me, my keys, and I'm gone, baby.
Some of those were sus.
Good morning. Let's see how many times I hear the word mom in one day. Mom. There we go.
Hi, I'm the girl with the list, and this is reason 315. I am not having kids. Just wait until you guys see the final number, because I guarantee you it is much higher than what you were guessing.
It is 10 to 9, and we are at 88 mums.
Y'all, I thought that was the end of the video. When she said it was 10 to 9, I thought she meant 10 to 9 p.m. I thought she meant 9 p.m. and that she had heard mum 88 times throughout the day. And I was like, damn, that's a lot. That's a lot. That would overstimulate me. That would drive me a little crazy. No, it's 9 a.m. 88 times in the first 2 hours of her day. Let's continue.
Lunchtime, 1:27. 234 times. 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. I also just did some quick math. If that's the daily average in 1 year, I'm hearing it 85,410 times.
234 times in one day over the course of 13 hours. 234 divided by 13 is 18, which means 18 times an hour, which means roughly every 3.5 minutes. Imagine having an alarm on your phone that goes off every 3.5 minutes for the next 18 years. And that's just one aspect of how overstimulating it is to be a mom. I don't think I'm equipped for that. I know I'm not equipped for that. I'm feeling overstimulated, like I need to go sit in a dark, quiet room room, just thinking about it. Somebody needed something from me every 3.5 minutes, even for 1 single hour, I think I would go insane. I choose sanity. I choose peace. I choose quiet. Take your birth control.
Right, you're probably not someone who wants kids if hearing a kid sounds like an alarm clock to you.
So, how are the kids? They're amazing. Thomas is 9 now, and Rebecca is 13. Can you believe it? That is crazy. So what about you? When are you and Tara gonna have a little one? Oh, God, no. That sounds terrible. What? No offense. How could you not want children? It's literally the most fulfilling thing we've ever done. Yeah, no thanks. You just don't understand how incredible it is to watch your kids grow up. It just doesn't really suit our lifestyle. How so? Well, for example, we travel all the time. Oh, kids don't stop you from traveling. 3 years ago, we took the kids to Delaware. Yeah, I was more thinking Europe. Oh, we'd love to, but that's just too expensive with the kids. That's kind of my point. Okay, well, there's more to life than travel. Like now that Thomas is 9, he's playing intramural soccer. So instead of going to Europe, you're telling me I can watch a really bad soccer match? Exactly. Okay, well, I also don't really have the money to support another human. Trust me, you'll find a way. Like, we just refinanced our mortgage to pay for Rebecca's gymnastics. Well, y'all are better people than I am. Give yourself more credit. You'd make a great dad. So you're telling me you want me to spend all of my time and money on this person for 18 years. Yeah. Then you want me to help them become functioning members of society. And then my reward for all of this is they get to tell their therapist that I'm responsible for all their trauma. That's parenting.
Classic.
And then people look at me like I'm crazy when I say I don't want to have kids.
Listen to this girl's dilemma.
I want to have kids, but I don't want to get pregnant or give birth. You can adopt. Yeah, but I wanted the kid to be biologically mine. Do you see the problem? You want to be the father.
Someone commented the solution is surrogacy, and I clicked on his profile. His name is Varshit Varma, and his Instagram bio asks, how big would you dream if you knew you couldn't fail? Dash Varshit Varma.
Damn, it feels good to be a gangster.
I don't know what's worse, that he put his own quote as his Instagram bio, or that he put a quote that's clearly not his quote. I've heard that quote like 3 times a day every Thursday for my whole life. This reminds me of when Michael Scott famously said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott. Also, something I've noticed recently is that Jon Hamm and Anne Hathaway were both in the news for becoming parents at an unusually old age. But it seems like Jon Hamm got a lot of criticism for it, while Anne Hathaway earned a lot of praise. And I'm curious if any of you have thoughts on why you think that is. Because one final thing I haven't mentioned yet is how expensive daycare is. I don't even want to tell you how much daycare costs now.
We spent a total of $53,432 on daycare tuition. And I have 2 kids. I have a 4-year-old daughter that's in the pre-K program and a 2-year-old son that's in the TWOS program. And we actually get a discount for having 2 kids enrolled in the daycare center. So our total is actually closer to $55,900, but we saved about $2,600 with that sibling discount. And I posted a couple weeks ago about how we already got the daycare tuition increase email for 2026, and our tuition is increasing about 5%. So that would put our total closer to $59,000 for 2026. Luckily, our daughter is going to public school kindergarten in the fall, so there is a little bit of reprieve on the horizon. But the next time someone asks me if I'm going to have a 3rd kid, I'm just going to start showing them these daycare bills.
That's insane. Daycare can average $27,000 a year, and in places like New York and California, it'll eclipse 40. So some families are just going to their unaccredited daycare around the block for $50, and it seems to be working out so far. Someone said, I worked at a daycare like this, and the kids were so well taken care of and would cry every time they had to leave. The kids will be fine, and the food will be fire.
Show mommy what they teach you at the $1,800 a month daycare. Show me.
Clock it.
Oh no! Refund now!
You're not even in school and you're already paying $25,000 a head?
Yeah.
Come on, dude. That's just dumber than crap. How much money you make? There's not enough money in the world that doesn't make that stupid.
Oh, gosh. Find you a free summer camp.
It does cost $25,000 a year to send your kid to daycare here in the United States of America, and it never ceases to amaze me how out of touch some people are with the lived experiences of parents here in the United States. Dave is supposed to be an expert in his field, so you would think he would know that childcare is the #1 rising cost for families here in our country. It is more expensive and going up at a faster rate than our mortgages, then groceries, then gas. It is the fastest rising cost for most families. And the average cost here in my state, I'm in Massachusetts, is $20,000, but depending on what county you're in, it goes up as high as $26,000. And remember, this is an average, meaning some families are paying much more than that and some are paying less than that. But the average for a family is $20,000. So Dave going off as if that's an astronomical number, like, oh my God, you're the stupidest people in the world for paying that, is just uneducated. He's clearly uneducated in his field of work, because if he does not understand the cost of childcare, then he can't be serving the people. I'm sorry. In where I live, there is such a lack of childcare that families will pay what they have to find it, because there is no childcare. The pandemic destroyed the childcare industry for many, many people. Daycares were closing their doors left and right. There is more demand than ever and less supply. Teachers are leaving that field because the pay is so bad. Our country needs to subsidize childcare, and people like Dave need to get their head out of the sand, because this is the average cost of childcare. This is not an insane number. This is not a wealthy person spending extravagantly. This is the cost of childcare. I don't know anybody in my personal life here in the state of Massachusetts who is not paying at least $20,000 a year for their children to go to daycare. And don't come at me about a nanny, because nannies are much more expensive than that. Individualized care in the form of a nanny is expensive, as it should be, but it is not going to be a cheaper route. Them saying there's cheaper routes, they don't know what they're talking about. And the fact that they just alluded to free summer camp, there's free nothing. There's no free after school. There's no free kindergarten, no free preschool. There is no such thing as free childcare.
Someone commented they often pick up donated books in secondhand stores, and that the 3 books always found in the giveaway bin are religious books, cookbooks, and Dave Ramsey books. People are having so few kids now that college towns are becoming Desolation Rows.
This used to be the College of New Rochelle, which survived the Spanish flu, 2 world wars, and the Great Depression. But it couldn't survive budget problems, tax bills, and steep drops in enrollment. And experts say nearly 400 colleges could suffer a similar fate in the next 10 years. The reason is simple. There aren't enough students to fill classrooms. That's because people stopped having as many babies around the start of the financial crisis. 18 years later, that falling birth rate is showing up as empty desks. For colleges who rely on tuition to keep the lights on, missing even a handful of students can mean the difference between life or death. Already, more than 40 schools have shut down since 2020. Many of them cite falling enrollment as what led them to shut their doors. And it's only going to get harder to keep classrooms full, as the birth rate will likely continue to fall. To adapt, schools are trying new things, like creating master's degrees or programs for older students, or adding unique extracurriculars like a bass fishing team to attract students, and sending some students acceptance letters, even if they haven't submitted applications. Experts say schools can't cling to old ideas of what they think a college should look like. Otherwise, they may find themselves handing out their last degree.
Yeah, colleges can't afford old-fashioned ideas like accepting students after they've applied, or not having a premier bass fishing team. Someone said, hey, have you thought about lowering the costs? And there are some people who don't just not want to have kids. Some people just hate kids.
Think about it. This bitch Dora? And here come y'all in the comments. Berlisi, you can't call Dora a bitch. That's not right. Man, fuck Dora!
I find it so odd that kids are the only group of people in America that you can, actively hate. If you hate black people, you're racist. If you hate women, you're misogynist. If you hate Gen Alpha defenders, you're based. The most confusing comment on that post was, I don't want kids. I want grandkids. Someone commented, I'd have kids if I could be the dad. Well, good news, you can. With the admittedly large exception of the birth itself, you can dramatically reduce how many hours you spend on childcare and still be spending more time with your kid than the average full-time mom did just 50 years ago. Something I've noticed is the vast majority of these videos about not wanting kids comes from women.
I don't want to have kids.
Definitely something I want to do, but when the time is right.
Maybe in the next 5-10 years.
Data suggests there's a difference between Gen Z men wanting kids and Gen Z women not so much. So we've come out here to see who's thinking about it.
It'd be lovely to start my own family and, just settle down in life. At least I won't be dying alone.
To make some self-improve is much more important for us than, having babies.
And I was trying to puzzle out why this is, and here's what I've concluded. Left alone, if we're happy and healthy, most people will want kids. And for men, that's basically the case. But for women, having kids has become so damn politicized. Let's start with this. As recently as 30 years ago, Democratic and Republican women had the same number of kids. Today, Basically, only Republican women have kids. And if having kids was completely divorced from politics, we'd expect a lot of women with 8 kids to be strong Democrat feminists, and a lot of women with no kids to be very traditional Republicans. But that never really happens. And think, what was the original feminist motto? The personal is political. I think a lot of women have internalized that. And sometimes that can put women in a bind where their life choices feel like they're making a statement. Additionally, for men or women, if you're conservative, you're gonna be around a lot of people with kids. And if you're very liberal, you probably won't be. That's why Trump won virtually every county with an above replacement birth rate in the United States, while Kamala won all the counties where people have fewer kids. Here's a perfect example of the politicization I'm talking about. If you go on TikTok right now as a guy and say it's your dream in life to be a dad, there's nothing more that you've ever wanted, you will get 95% positive comments. But if you say the same thing as a woman, you'll get negative comments. And so this is all part of my thesis, that it's not only money driving the birth dearth, because after all, I think we all know that there are a lot of poor families who have a lot of kids. This TikTok went viral on the other hand, saying people who don't want kids are weird. The caption said, "I will be having at least 4 kids." But then this counter TikTok went viral, saying one reason she doesn't want to have kids is because they break things.
Happy holidays.
Someone commented that was the sound of minus $400. And a lot of people get really offended when they say they don't want to have kids, and people say, oh, you'll change your mind. Because they sense the inherent disrespect that comes with completely dismissing what someone says they plan to do with their own lives, by implying they're too naive or stupid to really know what's important.
Like, shut the fuck up, I will fucking laser you with alien fucking eyes and explode your fucking head.
Someone commented, why does anyone have kids? Well, I hope some people have kids so we don't all die out just yet. What is this tribal Hunger Games music?
I don't think people without kids realize how much free time they actually have.
Oh no, we do. We know, which is why many of us have chosen to not have children.
Like, they are practically on vacation 24/7.
I don't think mothers on maternity leave realize how much free time they have. I mean, they're practically on vacation 24/7. Kind of a wild thing to say, isn't it? If we want to talk about demographics that don't know something, let's talk about parents. I don't think parents know just how insufferable they are. I don't think parents, specifically mothers, know that they are the biggest deterrents for people who are child-free from making the decision to have children. I don't need to have children. You guys have shown me more than enough that you're miserable with that life.
Now, don't get me wrong, I love spending time with my kids, but
if you are so happy being a mom, if you are so happy being a parent, why are you constantly on the internet talking about how child-free people this, child-free people that? You don't get free time. I'm always tired. You can't compare your tired to mine. My tired is just so unique. It's a tired that has never existed in the world before having children. Oh my God. You sound like you really love being a mom. To act like people who are child-free don't have responsibilities like work, or working more than one job, or going to school while working, or going to school while working more than one job, or having animals that they have to raise, or a home they have to take care of, or maybe a parent they have to take care of. To act like being a parent gives you a unique experience on being tired. Again, that's that insufferability I was talking about.
it's just funny because like I have friends that don't have kids and I just get a kick out of hearing them say like, oh, I'm so tired or I'm so busy. And I really try not to be that friend that's like, oh, well, girl, imagine if this, imagine, like I despise people like that.
I don't want to be that friend to them. So I'm actually just going to come to the internet instead and say it to everybody here instead of saying it to their faces. Yeah, because motherhood is awesome and I have so much fun doing it. You made a lifestyle, lifelong commitment and choice to have children. And it changes it. It changes your lifestyle. That's why many people who don't have children and have actively chosen to be child-free are child-free. Many of us don't want to give up whatever free time we do have to waste in our minds or spend or invest in your minds on a child.
But I'm just saying, a person without kids free time is completely different than a person who has kids free time. So take advantage now while you can.
There's like a flip that switches in the brains of many parents, and it's like a cognitive dissonance insufferability switch. They don't really realize how obnoxious and you sound miserable. You do a great job selling me and not wanting to have children. Other child-free people, their content, child-free content, has never once persuaded me not to have children. But the content and the things I hear from the mouths of parents, they do. Because the last thing I want to do is just naturally become insufferable just because I became a parent. That seems to be like the standard deviation. That seems to be the route that people go down. It's like you can't be a parent without being annoying. You have to sit and complain. You have to sit and complain about how child-free people have it so easy, as if you didn't make the choice to have children. That was your decision. That was your decision. Maybe something you should have looked into before you had them.
Someone said, it's not free time, it's my time.
You cannot look at this and tell me that you don't have baby fever.
I absolutely can, so please get it away from me. There is literally nothing appealing about motherhood and having a child.
And that's how a lot of people feel, including, oh my gosh, of all people, this was not on my bingo card, Ray William Johnson.
Here's why I'm never having kids. Okay, first off, kids are expensive. I mean, kids are expensive, and I'd rather spend that money on things that make me happy, like my animation projects and such. I'm kind of a nut job. Honestly, I'm a little bit crazy, and I don't want to pass any of those traits on to another generation. Kids themselves. Have you met kids? There are a lot. It feels unfair. Like, it feels unfair to bring a kid into this world right now. Like with the economy and climate change, like the future is looking a little bleak. Kids take up time. Any parent will tell you kids are really, really time consuming. And I'd rather spend that time doing something that makes me happy. Gaming. Look, I have one gaming console and I'm gonna be the one that plays it. My wife. Like, I love my wife a lot and I love spending time with her, and I wouldn't want anything to interrupt that time, and I feel like having kids would interrupt my time with her. The screaming. You know that high-pitched screaming that kids do when they run around the pool? Ugh, just throw me in front of a bus. And most importantly, I have no desire to be a parent. Just that feeling is not there, and it's never been there. And honestly, it never will be there. Also, I recently got a vasectomy, so there's that. And by the way, I'm not trying to upset parents here. None of this is to say that you shouldn't have kids or anything like that. You do you, boo-boo. That's on you. I know that makes a lot of people happy. It's just not for me.
Oh, Ray William Johnson, I did not expect to see you here. But a lot of young people agree with him, especially on the financial side.
Why do you think younger people are having less kids?
My parents had kids by the time they were my age, but like we would not be able to afford to have a child now.
Most people our age can barely afford to live for themselves.
I can't pay my rent.
I guess people are busy. Lead busy lives, have careers.
Cost of living crisis for sure, and I'm still getting my life in order, so...
A lot of people don't want to bring kids into this world with like the current climate, like environments, like things going on politically. Like people don't want like to bring children into the world for them to grow up like that.
Having a child is a good thing. It makes you more of a man.
Wanting freedom. People feel like children are a burden.
Even though it is a financial burden, the love that it gives our family outweighs anything.
Knowing what it costs and the hours people have to work to keep a family is staggering.
I wouldn't suggest not having a baby due to finances. Just make it work.
Just make it work. Sound financial advice right there.
Give me 3 reasons why you don't want children. Okay, 1, they cost a lot of money. 2, I'm not mentally in the right place to take care of children. And 3, I don't want them to suffer in this world. Okay, but I want you to have children. Well, that's not my problem. You guys are so ungrateful. Bye.
Someone commented number 4, imagine my children being like me. That would be absolutely horrendous. Well,
I want to have kids. I don't see any benefit.
For giving somebody life?
You have a kid and your life becomes about the kid. I want my life to be about me.
Oh, you selfish.
Someone commented, selfish? Well, maybe I am. And if that's the case, why should I have kids? But, okay. Maybe the scariest comment I read in this whole video was the most liked comment on this video that said, forcing me to exist was the most selfish thing my parents ever did. Oh man, someone responded, I tell my parents all the time, I wish they aborted me. Okay, alright, that's enough of that.
Would you ever have your own kids? No. Not around here, partner. No. Why? Let's go through the list. Okay. 1, I don't want to be pregnant. 2, I don't want to give birth. 3, I don't want a baby. 4, I already have bad anxiety, so I know having a baby would make my anxiety so much worse, and I feel like I would have like the worst postpartum psychosis, depression, anxiety. I feel like all of that would happen to me. 5, I get really overstimulated and really frustrated at loud, obnoxious noises. And even when I hear kids and babies in public screaming and crying, I'd be like this. Someone get them, get this freaking baby. It would just drive me fucking nuts. It would drive me up a wall. I don't want to risk it for the biscuits. A lot of people have complications and stuff. It's just a risk I'm not willing to take. Expensive, so expensive. The risk of your child having, complications as well. There's a possibility that you could have a child that has needs that are beyond what maybe you expected or thought. And also that becomes ridiculously expensive as well. The state of the world, the current state of the world. This is me personally. Again, if you're out here having babies and pushing them out, that's all you. That is, and I'm happy for you if that's what you. Again, so I don't want anyone in here with kids to be like, what'd she say fuck my kids for?
Well, that about sums it up, I guess. But the Gen Z who still want to have kids feel like they'll have to wait until they're old because it's gotten so expensive.
What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna be all at the graduation, they gonna be like, your grandma's here. They gonna be like, that's my mom.
But I think if I had to put every generation's relationship to kids together, it would look like this.
Boomers hate their kids. Gen X hate their parents. Millennials think they're kids. And Gen Z aren't having any kids. What's going on in America? Because at the end of the day, it seems like every generation is failing the next one. So what's going to be the end goal here with Gen Alpha?
But both Gen Z and millennials are not having kids.
Gen Z and millennials need to start having more kids.
Why do you think?
No! How come you're all lonely with no kids?
Because nobody can afford anything nowadays.
Instead of complaining, how about you apply that energy to a job?
I mean, people can't afford food, let alone shelter. You know how high rent is?
So you're saying even with a job, you can't afford any of that? That's a lie because some of you do have apartments.
And the people that are paying it are struggling, so most Gen Z and millennials are opting to live with their parents.
I had a house at the age of 25! So how was I able to buy a house, but you can't?
Because when you were our age, you bought your house for 3 grapes and a carrot. No! It doesn't cost that no more.
See, your generation doesn't know the concept of hard work. None of you want to work. You're all just lazy.
Well, who would want to work in a job in a market so no matter how many hours you put in, you still can't afford a home?
That doesn't give you guys the right to be entitled at your job. You guys are always ranting online about billionaire corporations.
I understand that, but I think everybody's getting angry for a reason. They've been treated horribly, and the answer to being poor is to force them to have kids to make them more poor?
Yeah! It's clear you're not going to change, so we need to ban abortion because God wouldn't want that.
So all of a sudden it's godly talk. Why don't we talk about the economy? Why don't we keep the conversation there?
God would fix all of your generation's problems. All you have to do is believe.
I'll tell you what, instead of all these antics, if you just focused on lowering the cost of housing and rent and put strong regulations against that.
That's a logical response, but since you're too poor to have kids, we'll just change the laws to make you have them. Good luck.
Listen to how excited this lady gets.
How many kids do you have?
Oh, I have no kids. Girl, look at this figure. Hold up. I know you don't know too much about it, but let me tell you something. I don't even know how to talk to kids. I'm telling you about a figure.
And at this rate, the average Gen Z woman isn't going to have her first kid until 35, which 200 years ago could have easily been the age someone became a grandparent.
New data shows that Gen Z is on track to have their first child in their mid to late 30s. And before you say anything about video games or ambition or woke women, let me tell you exactly what's happening. It costs nearly $300,000 to raise a child in this country. Childcare costs alone rose 51.8% in just 2 years, and the average annual cost of raising a child under 5 hit nearly $30,000 last year, rising faster than inflation. But what does this delay in starting a family cost us beyond money? When you have your first child at 35, your parents are likely in their early 60s. That leaves them significantly older than the grandparents many of us remember who had the health and energy to be active participants. By the time your kids are teenagers, grandma and grandpa are managing their own decline. Not to mention the fact that you will get less time with your children as a young parent, and they will get less time with you as a healthy one. The whole arc of family life gets compressed. It's one thing to choose that timeline freely, but it's another when socioeconomic factors force it upon all of us.
Do you want kids? A lot of people do, a lot of people don't, so I'm curious to see which way this audience leans. Even if you don't normally comment, I'd love to hear from you if you want to have kids or not. I'll respond to as many comments as I can, and thanks to our amazing, amazing patrons. Bubber, Ameleconomics, Keaton Sheagley, Kendall K, Jase, Aaliyah, Sami Mohammad, Avery, Gerard, Pineatoo, Wendy, Pineatoo, Sylvie, Caroline, Alex, Zak Hoover, Coco, Keaton, Michael J, Sal, Sonder, Kelly, Dylan, Brett, Ari V, Guy, Bond, Dogeland, Eden, Job, Angel, Rachel, Kiana, Ariel, Viper, Ava, Alex, Comfort, Puffy, Marshall, Christina, Brandy, Odell, Jackson, Ellen, Caroline, Woody B, Call Me Kelp, and our newest patron, Natta the Great. Natta the Great, welcome. Excited you're here.